Welcome to the Creative Plan Podcast Network. Join us as we share our favorite RPGs, one-shot games, tabletop games, reviews of items, and convention panels, and other exciting things that we run into from time to time. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion to Ragnarok story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and rpgpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
Have you ever watched the movie Brave?
Yes, I have.
Near the beginning, they're sitting down at the table and the Queen says, "Fergus, no weapons at the table!"
We always have weapons at the table, though.
What?
We must always have weapons at the table. I mean, knives themselves.
Exactly.
Anything and everything is a weapon. It's just a matter of how you intend to use it.
That is true.
Yeah. First time we were at the movie theater and saw that right there, she was laughing for about a good
Laughing
5-10
butt
minutes.
off. She's yelling at Fergus.
We're
No,
supposed to have a few more, but
No one wants to take our masks off for this.
Yeah, you guys are the panelists. You should take off your masks so we can understand you.
we'll make adjustments so you can hear us otherwise. Okay?
Would you like fries with that? Would you like fries with that?
And then.
Yours stands up so much nicer than mine. Mine just likes to go all swamped.
I keep it in the little envelope they gave us.
Same, but it's because maybe you keep yours folded and I don't. Maybe that's
Yeah, his is always folded.
I will do it.
You whisper sweet things to it.
What?
No, I
whisper sweet things to it, so it is treated
Oh.
together.
I threatened him with my kitty cat, so.
Oh,
You stay folded or else! Uncle Kitty!
sweet things to be in don't worry. I'm not going to set you on fire after convention.
You should remove the purple underneath. I think he'll look better. Yeah. It sort of took away. Yes. We did the make and take.
Monster boxes.
Very nice.
I thought it was so cute when she was working on the
I
design.
don't
Yeah.
for a second there. I just
Wednesday night dating group, she's like, look at this thing I made when she was prototype.
Give us the cookie. No! No!
Well, let's see. I think we're about at time, and I guess it is just me and you.
Yes.
This is going to be fun.
It is going to be. The second time doing
Because
panel.
I'm the plucky comic relief usually, or the professional smartass. So, you want to take it? You want me to take it, or?
Sure. You know, this way you got. If it goes horribly wrong, you can blame the newcomer. So.
Okay.
So.
The dark side
Okay.
of fantasy.
Yes. Yes. So,
Welcome to the dark side, everyone. This is the dark side of fantasy.
And I'm not really sure what we're supposed to be talking about.
But
other
you're
than,
Santa.
well, yeah,
How
I
could
was
you be the
like,
dark side?
they put me in here, and I'm, ho, ho, ho.
I mean, you could be Krampus in disguise. You know.
This is true, because to every legend and every story, there is a dark side.
Truth.
And Star Wars proved that, and Lucas became rich. But still, it's
Okay.
It depends on what it is. What is darkness and fantasy? I guess is
The dark side of fantasy.
What is the dark side of fantasy to you?
Oh,
Tell you.
honestly, there's of course the old traditional side of good versus evil and that sort of thing, and that generally is how I tend to view things. But it doesn't have to be defined upon what is ideally considered to be good versus dark. It's usually for me all about the intentions behind something. I mean, unicorns, cute, cuddly, pure individual beings. On one side of the lore is virgins, pretty fields and the flowers, protector of all things good. And in other ones, it's like, no, they slaughter the virgins and they like everyone else their situation. Vampires, originally we had Count Dracula, we had the whole Helsing side of thing, Alucard. Now we have Twilight.
Okay, let's table Twilight for a while because I have something totally different on that right there. There's a dark side to that right there.
There is definitely a dark side. There are the hundreds of thousands of deaths that occur that no one wants to talk about while they're gathering all the vampires to, save Bella. But But either way, it's however you choose to interpret something and the positions that you put it in. We have the traditional bad things, and now we have the more modernized. It's all good. I mean, even the Bible was like that. There was the Old Testament too. It was all fire, brimstones, turning people into salt pillars, and now it's, I don't care what you've done. Just say 3 Hail Marys and, make a donation to the church and all is forgiven.
Yeah. So, my studies in psychology. So yes.
Same.
Yes, scary biscuits. So what I
really?
wait, get the book up. We need to have product placement.
Yes.
This is important. Okay. But I've always been of the Jungian theory that horror comes from people acting out, but not really. In that the person cuts them off in front of traffic. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to rip your hair. But they can't do that. But if they're a screenwriter in Hollywood, they can.
Exactly.
So.
I mean, I don't go intentionally, killing people off for the sake of killing them off. But I do have some, former bosses who I am less than fond of, and other individuals who, make perfect primary sources on, I need a bad individual. Why not pluck them out and, of course, make the necessary changes to where I can't get sued for anything or slandering other individuals.
Well, to put it in the words of Jubal Harshaw from Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert A. Heinlein, he had a better off dead list.
Nice.
So yes, it's.
Oh no, I shouldn't go upon that rant. Otherwise, I could be, be the next target for the FBI's, hit list sort of individuals. Just like, let's see.
I don't mind y'all.
She made these comments over here. Tag her photo. Let's see if she's got anything fun to say. She's just talking about more lobbying stuff. I swear she said she was going to have this elaborate plan for murdering the president. We're going to keep listening. It's all code. That really must be code.
Absolutely.
It must be code.
Well, we were doing conspiracy theories earlier, so we'll just throw out little grains of truth and then your own specific interpretation, and we'll just play a giant game of internet telephone with it.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes. The dark side is really just based upon the individual's intent, really, because even the most horrendous bad guy is doing it for a reason, and it probably stemmed for a very good reason. How many movies and books have we come across to where the bad individual, very good, strong, noble cause and purpose, just went about doing it all in the wrong way? Mm-hmm. And then other people who oppose their ideology said, you are bad, we define ourselves as good, and so it is now our intent to kill you for the sake of everyone having a happy life.
They're all on their own hero's journey, and to them, they're the hero of the play.
Exactly. The world revolves around us, because, we are ourselves the most important beings in the world. Everyone else can fudge off.
Yes, except for Kitty.
True. There must always be that side character that keeps you upon track, makes your life a wee bit better, and, just cleans up all the messes that you leave in your wake and pretend that actually never happened.
Nailed it. No. It's
all at least provides good food. You need to have at least a cook in every single situation.
That's me.
Yes.
So, yes, sir.
In Serenity, one of the bad guys in it makes a comment of, he's trying to work towards paradise, and he makes comments that even he is monster, so he does not belong in paradise. Mm-hmm. So it was very strange. He even saw himself as monster.
Yeah. But he also saw himself as a hero, as doing the right thing.
Yes.
He was a good guy.
He did at least understand that what he's doing is still bad. Mm-hmm. But
it was for him all for a greater purpose.
Yeah. The heroes like that, the villains like that right there, I think they've just started to come about because in the beginning there was, using Dracula as an example, he was just looking for his next meal, or his next bride, or his next, there wasn't really
Death.
The death was what he was after, period, and it's just, and everything he touched turned to. So it's.
There's no depth to his character, is what I was trying to say. It's just very like, this is who they are, this is how they are. We got the nice little box to characterize them as good as evil.
Yeah, and nowadays it's you've got to have for want of a better term, the motivation of the bad guy, so you actually learn from them, and people identify with the bad guy more, I think, because they recognize their own fallibility and their own foibles in them. Does that make sense? Or?
It does. I mean, everybody, has these, more darker thoughts we keep in the back of our head. We generally tend to not act upon, especially if we don't have access to our grandfathers, all weapon arsenal back in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
But, yes, the bad guys generally think to be a lot more interesting because the good guys, they all have some very noble cause. And yes, nobility is very good, and we all strive for that, but it's less easy to achieve that pinnacle point of goodness because situations have to be set up for that individual. The heroes are generally chosen, they're prophesized. Well, we're all everyday average Joe sort of thing, and that's something that that's generally what the villain was. They were just that person next door that you never thought would be anything worse than just they took my newspaper. Never thought of anything like that, and that's far more relatable. It's just they had a crappy life.
Mm-hmm.
We generally have crappy points in our life at one point or another.
Yeah.
And then that person took that what happened to them and just ran with it and made it the best of the situation.
They were just one lab experiment away, or lab accident away from being a supervillain.
Exactly.
Okay then.
That the movie Falling Down. He doesn't realize he's the bad guy until the end.
Yeah. Well, it's prime example is Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
Yes.
He eventually got everything that he wanted. All it cost him was a penny. Sorry. Sorry, I'm a bad man. I know. I've been told that before, and that's a friend's joke, and I just used it. So.
Saying you're a wonderful person.
But technically, he did get everything that he wanted because Penny was part of that, but he had to give up on. It's more of a you have the dream, but it's like, which do you go for, the career or the personal life? And he got the career.
And truth be told, who can say no to Bad Horse?
And his terrifying death Winnie.
Yes. So yes, there is a lure of evil, which again works with the people identifying with the villain and being basically in a story from when I was growing up and I was reading comic books. That's where most of my genre came from. And my mom was like, I'm 40 years old and I'm over there reading Superman and everything, and she's over there saying, like, he's over there reading those funny books and getting poisoned in his brain and everything like that. And my grandfather said, hey, he's reading. He's reading!
Just be grateful that he's at least getting half of what you want done.
But the thing is the good guys wear the blue tights and the bad guys were bald, and it was the standard stereotypical he was a bad guy. It wasn't until they started developing Lex Luthor as a bad guy and then making him into a multi-billionaire CEO of a company who, got away with it because he could afford to, that, you actually got depth to the character and would be able to identify with him more, especially seeing him as eventually becoming a president of the United States or a member of Congress. Because it wasn't, his drive was power. So, I know, sorry, tangent, didn't mean to. Anyway.
But leading on to the whole tangent with, a whole Ender's Game where, Peter, the older brother, just absolutely the worst individual in the world.
Yeah.
Terrorizing and, torturing his younger siblings. Turned out to be, he spent so long pretending to be good. He turned good and became, this grandfathered hegemon to where everyone was like Peter the Great. Peter, his younger brother who saved them. He killed off an entire race he called genocide. Down with Ender. Even though just a few years ago we were like, yay, Ender, we're alive now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a combination of perspective. I see it. It sounds like I'm going in circles, and I am, but because this is just when you look in the darkness of fantasy, you're looking at the darkness within yourself, and something in there is identifying. This is the way it is to me. Something identifies with the evil, and it's, in some cases, it's liberating. In some cases, it's cathartic. In some cases, it drives the story forward, yes, which is the main goal and objective, because you can't have a hero's journey without conflict. But at the same time, it's on that emotional level that we get the dopamine fulfillment from it.
Yes.
So.
And I think now, like, the darker side of things is actually evolving. It's now just not an individual who is evil. It is more of a society thought rot.
Puts them into that situation type
Yes.
thing, right?
Yeah, it's like, we can see what's going on nowadays, too, where we're trying to make up for all the bad things we've done to certain genders and races. And so we're now going to the exact extremes to where some people are now being discriminated just because, it's a reverse discrimination sort of thing. So we're now having evil being just something that you are, and you now just have to put up with it. I mean, differences in sexuality for the longest time, it was perceived as being evil, and that's the fact people have gotten to live through that now, to where they're now transitioning to where it doesn't matter what you are, you're an individual, you're a person. That's sort of now changing into the whole new version of the darker side of things. It's not just a person, it's an idea that is now good or evil.
Mm-hmm. Anybody got questions? Because we'll go on like this all day. No questions? Okay, a question for you guys then. What do you see as there's such a thing in a story, in the hero's journey, which what I study, which is the necessary evil of the conflict. Okay? What to you is, well, let's just make it a popularity contest. Who do you think is the best example of a dark villain in fantasy? Now, everybody's got an opinion on this, I know. You got that one just kind of like, yeah, but I don't want to seem like a dork and say this one right
The
here.
penguin.
The penguin.
Now, which version of the penguin are we talking here? Are we talking like the new Gotham version of the penguin, or are we talking, like...
You're talking the Batman Returns.
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito?
Yeah, where he started out as the little creature, little baby that just was tearing apart things like people's hands that they put in the...
He owned that role.
Yeah, he did. He did. He was a bad guy you love to hate, but that's pretty much exactly what I'm talking about. Is that one person has that one dark, what's the word I'm looking for? Not icon, but example.
Just the imagery or
the
iconic.
The icon.
Representation.
Thank you. The representation of what evil is in their minds, as far as what the darkness and fantasy is. Yes.
One of my favorite Fed guys is the Daredevil villain.
Kingpin.
Yes.
Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. Yes. Yes. He thinks he's doing the right thing. He's trying to provide for his family and everything like that, but all he was taught was
to make better communities.
Yes,
from a certain point of view.
Yes, from a certain point of view. Damn you, Obi-Wan, for choosing those words. But it's what we see as being the villain, the necessary evil that we have that's, for want of a better term, necessary for the story to progress. So, because you've got the hero's journey is always the hero is here, something happens, he becomes aware of a situation, and then he denies, having to do anything about it. I'm going to use Luke Skywalker. He was like, okay, you must learn the ways of the Force and join me in Tatooine. And eventually went on to lose people. No. Eventually went on to Uncle and Aunt Beru, and he said, okay, I'm going to do this. And then eventually he's force projecting himself across the universe to fight a bunch of people and going like this right here with a lightsaber. So
It's all pure sass.
yeah, just pure sass. It's like, you done? So, but that was his journey all the way through. So what are some of your favorite villains?
Classic Darth Vader.
Classic Darth Vader? Before the Anakin.
Before the Orphan Annie situation.
Little Orphan Annie, yeah. Okay. Why did he appeal to you?
It's just because the iconography of him. You look at him and you know that's the big bad evil right there.
Well, it helped with the music. As soon as he first came in, it's like, one, dun, dun. It's like, okay, he's important.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that he's just as deadly to his own side than he is the rebels.
Yeah.
It's like, you're competent, but I'm angry. Oops. Promotion time.
Okay, but to be fair, he started murdering the various underlings during the second movie. And that's after he lost his best friend when the first Death Star blew. His son helped murder his best friend. I'm just saying.
There were lots of lives lost that day.
Yes.
None hit him more than Grand Moff Tarkin.
Think of the daycare on level 47.
Exactly.
I knew people who were at the Death Star.
Didn't know it was going to go this way, did you?
It went dark really quick.
Talking about sort of all the different kind of mythical creatures. What instances we've seen them as being, light and frilly and frou-frou, fairies. We have one vision of fairies, like Tinkerbell.
Let's go into Fae, shall we?
Let's
go into Fae lore, okay? Don't eat the food.
Yes.
Don't thank them for anything.
You can't drink anything they offer you either.
No
No
drinking.
consumption of anything.
Don't take
Stay
any
away from
bargains.
those fairy ring circles, otherwise you'll be kidnapped.
Yes.
No
Don't give
dancing.
them your name.
Yes.
No dancing, no giving them your name.
I'd like to say, so far you have just described like Mexico. Don't drink anything, don't talk to them, just stay away.
It's all about the bag, man.
Otherwise, you're going to get some terrifying stomach parasite.
No, in this case, they just kidnap you, or even then, if you haven't done anything to them, they'll just kidnap you and just swap you out for one of their own offspring, so that way you turn into another. I don't forget how the whole exchange program works with that, but I do know the whole changing purpose. Yes.
Do they keep them, or do they do know how that works? Because I looked it up recently.
Because
Please share.
Okay, so technically, they're stealing the human baby to use as manual labor in the Fae world. But the problem is the baby that they leave, there's a few different ways it could actually work. Is ideally, they leave like a weaker Fae in the place of the baby that will get sick really quickly and die. So they don't have a loose end of where's the missing baby.
Yes.
Alternatively, it can sometimes be they're like faking it, and then they're gonna once the baby is buried, the baby is buried, they sneak back off. That way, they're essentially increasing the numbers of the fairy without actually having to do that whole messy breeding and raising their own children thing.
Yes. Or it could be along the lines of, hey, we're going to send you in there like a super agent, go and learn what the humans are doing, bring back their technology and understanding of us, and, implant false ideas to take it further away from a superior racial being. Then, so that way we can, someday come out and rule the world.
Right, kind of. Which is really weird because the primary original way to get your baby back was to torture the what baby you thought was the fake.
Get the horseshoe out and tap it
Right, which is terrible because
You know,
maybe you just don't have a standard baby.
Yes, or to get them to at least admit, oh yeah, I'm fake. I'm totally not legit.
The
Let's
torture
get into the
was to try and
darkness.
get
We're getting there. Come
The
on.
torture was to try and get them to yell out for help, and then the fairies would bring back the baby as a peace offering to return their own kind back to safety.
Yes.
Woo. And it's terrible.
I think that's just the excuse they gave for malnourished parents who didn't want to admit to the fact that yes, I accidentally, strangled my own child. SIDS are wonderful.
Right, SIDS, and then it also theoretically was a way to kind of excuse developmental delays, if the child had anything wrong with it initially.
It was obvious they changed
it's a baby. You can't guarantee it'll be perfect right off the bat, and you can't guarantee you'll notice, any shortcomings. Big quotations around there.
Yes.
Right off the bat. Sometimes you need to let the baby develop a bit before you know.
Except for my nephew, he's perfect.
He is really cute.
He's not spoiled. He's
Not
deserved everything.
But he's cute.
No. He doesn't deserve everything. He'll earn it. So.
Yes, he deserves it. He earned it.
But yeah, I definitely say original fairy lore is definitely dark side of fantasy.
Yes.
I mean, even Tinkerbell did try to kill Wendy.
She did.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
think of the Irish, you have the silly and the unsilly court. They're
Yes.
both
Yeah.
bad, but then there's the bad.
And I forget the name of this, but the the dead infant from The Witcher, the unborn baby, and then if you put it in an unmarked grave, it starts terrorizing the household. But if you give the child a name and it's buried beneath your front doorstep, it will then be a protector of the house because you at least name the poor thing.
That's
So good. Name it the seemingly large name, the third. It's why the third? Because everyone will be curious about the first and second.
it's dark, man. Anyway.
That's how we're here.
Yep.
Right,
But it's not just in the Feywild and everything like that. But let's go a little deeper into what made us who we are. Grimm fairy tales.
Oh yes. Although admittedly, I've heard people argue that Grimm actually just stole everything from his work. I forget who they said they plagiarized from, but
I'm not sure about that right there, but I do know that the big difference between the Grimm fairy tales that we read as children versus what they really were.
yes.
What do you remember?
Mermaids
that?
turning to sea foam.
What do you really want?
As I recall, the Princess and the Frog, she actually threw the frog against the wall and killed the thing, which is what brought him back to life as a prince. Hey, you've been abusing me, you've been treating me like crud, but hey, do you still want to get married because I don't have a kingdom to go back to at this point?
Also, I'm handsome now.
Yes. It's oh, now that you're no longer a toad. Why
I
not?
guess I'll marry you now.
Lady's gotta have her standards.
Yes.
How do you know he's not going to go back to being a toad?
He's a man. He will turn into a toad eventually.
We all metamorphose, we all transform as life goes on. We go from a little bald thing to putrid, acne spewing, nasty thing. We have a few good years of I'm pretty, and then we go back to darkness.
And then we slowly.
And kids, get off my lawn! Hey, with you there. I'm starting to go there myself.
That's what Grandpa.
What?
What?
Who are you?
Squirrel!
You're gonna have to talk into my good ear.
Oh, okay. We're going there
Yes.
then.
It's downhill quickly.
Well, it's a downhill luge, guaranteed, because it's where we make jokes because there is darkness in us. We have to. If we don't, we're sociopaths.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Everybody nods your head because, yeah, you're right.
Both sides will laugh at it. It's it's just a matter of, do we laugh at it so that way we don't fall into a manic state of depression because if we don't laugh at it, we're just going to be sad for the rest of our lives, or we laugh at it because yeah, what's the next thing again on the agenda? There's really a difference right there. Do we laugh because otherwise we're going to be sad, or do we laugh because why not?
Yeah. Did you see that blood spray over there? It looked great. It was so funny. No, I
didn't tell you that story.
Sorry.
If you look at the blood splatter, it looks like an early work from Liver.
Pollock, right?
Pollock.
Jackson Pollock, yeah.
And that's one of the whole hell is paved with good intention. It's when you compromise. That's the dark side. It's how far are you willing to compromise?
I think that's one of the another reasons why it makes bad guys so much more relatable than good guys, because good guys generally have these very high standards of morals, which it's very difficult for us to relate to after a certain point in life. Because just look at our jobs in general. We have co-workers and not bosses who we just want to throttle. There are people who we have to interact with who are less than charming, or it just could be that you're in like a emergency responder medical sort of situation, to where you're constantly dealing with the fact that somebody's dying, someone's injured, someone has been sexually assaulted. I work in emergency dispatcher response myself sort of situation, and that does sort of overlap sometimes with military territory now and then. So I get fun phone calls of regards of potential rape situation and 6 Marines in a closet, and I'm just laughing at the 6 Marines in the closet portion while I'm trying to ignore the fact that there's this topless 18-year-old girl in a room with a 26-year-old male trying to cover him up from the police department. And I'm just like, I'm going to focus on those 6 Marines in the closet. Yes, very much, thank you. A clown car sort of situation. Just imagine them all tumbling out. Versus, again, the dark side of the situation.
You've gotta enjoy whatever comedy you can when you're in that type of situation.
Exactly, and
even if it's not appropriate comedy, you've got to have some comedy.
Yes, but we can't have heroes laughing at that sort of thing. That makes them less than perfect, makes them less than ideal that we should be striving for. Where the villains, they go like, what, that sucks. Man, those clown car Marines, can't you just imagine it? So again,
can't we just have freaking sharks with freaking laser beams on their heads?
Exactly.
They solve everything.
Yes, so that makes the villains in a lot of situations nowadays much more realistic, because again, they do have their faults. They do have their less than ideal sides. Normally nowadays we're not really seeing heroes with these actually really compelling backstories to make them do anything besides the fact that somebody died.
Well, actually, here lately, the term, it started in the 90s actually, especially in comics. The concept of the anti-hero.
Oh yes, anti-heroes
started coming up. And then you've got guys like the Punisher and Wolverine and Deadpool, the Merc with the Mouth.
Yes.
What are they doing? They're killing people! They're killing them in mass and doing all sorts of, what do you like this, bub? Snick! And just taking them out and everything.
But they occasionally have good intention.
Yes.
But they got good intention and they're the good guy.
Yes, no, anti-heroes are definitely my favorite of all the categories. I remember there was one assignment that I had for a math class where I had to make a storybook and utilize math in some way or another, and being a complete weeb, looking at manga and whatnot, and I was like, okay, well, I'll do a hero-villain sort of situation, a little bit of a parody of sort of like Dr. Horrible sort of thing, a little bit, but, at the time, anti-heroes was still a bit of a subject that was still a bit foreign to me just because I hadn't delved fully into the whole, mainstream Americanized comic sort of thing, so I wasn't very much accustomed to. But that's what I did with mine. I made them a sort of anti-hero, and the premise was behind the fact that, yes, she does good things, but she also holds them there at gunpoint because, hey, I don't get paid for this.
Sometimes you have to get your message across.
Yeah. Then you've got it to where even the icons start becoming anti-heroes. Batman, prime example. What is he? He used to be a guy that would fight crime and do detective work, and now he's a ninja that beats people to a pulp to get the information he needs.
Yes, but he never kills them. No, they
Never kills
They
them.
just get very tired when they
cripples them
fight.
for life.
Very tired, very crippled, but
Yes.
never dead.
And wait till they get those medical bills.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like he cares too much. He's got the funds paid off anyways.
Yeah. It's like, so what's your superpower? I'm rich. So.
I love a great comment. It's Flash looking around the new space station. It's like, yeah, this is really great. I wonder how much this costs. Batman's there just counting bills. It's like, who's not about to know? It's like, this Bruce Wayne guy keeps donating money. He could be a weirdo in his basement pretending to be a hero. I'll keep an eye on him.
Well, I mean, Batman could be playing it smart, in which case he's hiring his own company to actually create all these new things. So therefore, he's just essentially paying himself with his own funds. And then he also gets the benefit of sponsorship and good public press for assisting the heroes, and then he gets more business out of it. So it's just a very smart advertising scam.
There was actually a TV series that they did not too long ago on NBC. And I can't remember the name of it to save my life, but it was set in the DC universe. And they worked for a division of Wayne Tech.
Oh, Batwoman.
Oh,
Not Batwoman.
Powerless.
Powerless.
Oh, yeah.
Powerless, yes.
Yeah.
So they had it to where the bad guys were constantly coming in, and they were always doing R&D for Bruce Wayne. He says, like, well, suppose somebody had a freeze gun. Okay, we'll work on this project right here. Suppose somebody needed to climb a building. Okay, we're working on this project right here. So, but, not saying anything, but it was just the people behind the scenes working and doing the things to get everything going. And eventually the gal who's in charge of it, she starts going like, isn't that the thing Batman used that we did that's okay. Isn't that ours? So
Don't worry about it. Shh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his is cooler.
Yeah. So you where did you get these wonderful toys? Yes. It's the anti-hero is alive and well, and so much so that he's actually become almost an icon. They want the person that rocks the boat to be the person in the spotlight. It's not a good thing. That's our darkness incarnate, I think. But I won't go there. Anyway, the darkness in fantasy. Where do we draw the line? Where do our dreams and our legends and our stories, where do they blur together? Where does the dark come from? How does it happen? I'm not speaking rhetorically. I'm saying, guys, I need you to think about this. I need you to give input as far as what it is. Because we make fun of it, but it's there.
It's like Tolkien, where he took a lot of his stuff from his war experience, a very dark part of his history, and he put that in literature.
Mm-hmm. Our own Will Herr, he does things with some of the stories he's going to be writing now. Is going to be putting him in a very bad headspace, but he's going to be doing it because it's therapy for him. Mm-hmm. So it's dealing with, and he's done stuff dealing with PTSD too that helped him work through that as well. So it's I don't know. It's a huge topic. How do you pigeonhole it?
You got me so stumped. I mean, again.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to.
But it's just a matter of, again, it's like as you said, there are these lines that can or cannot be crossed. I mean, I think we all have these very good defined lines of what shouldn't be crossed as, acceptable evil and, non-acceptable evil, such as, don't go killing babies just because.
Yeah. The whole changeling thing, we're good on that. Don't push the iron horseshoe on the baby.
I was thinking more upon the lens of, the pharaoh, killing all the
Firstborn.
Yes, well, it wasn't that one, but like all the Jew infants at the time frame, which led to his downfall down the way because you don't go killing babies just because you have a population problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of those evils we agree upon. It's not acceptable to try to do that in the pursuit of something better.
Kill off the adults, use them as food supply. It makes more sense.
Isn't they're tough? Since they're old.
Oh, no.
You just cook it slower.
Darling, the tenderizing techniques we have now are so much better than they were at the turn of the century.
Yeah, we take all of the homeless, grind them up, and feed them to the hungry. 2 problems solved.
But the homeless in California have the Black Death now. We have to at least cure them first before we start serving them as meat patties.
Yeah.
That was part of the reason why you have to cook them properly first to get all of it nice and,
And the label is SoCal Green.
Soylent Green.
The answer is Soylent Green. Yep, you're right.
It's, like I said, it can go dark real quick. Real quick.
The prime example of this individual group. We few, we happy few.
We band of brothers.
Yes.
It's all right. Yes, ma'am.
Well, interesting. Okay, so since we're on the subject of where do you draw the line, one of the horror webcomics I read is like an anthology, and so as we were reading through, it was like talking about a guy who found some weird pictures in his dead uncle's attic, and it's like pictures, and it's like big, surprisingly sweet boy, and it's like this little kid that curled up in a corner, and like all this. And as you're reading it, like the initial thought is like, oh dear Lord, he was a pedophile. And then it gets to the end and it's like, oh wait, no, he's just a cannibal. That's so much better. But that's the thing, I was like, because I felt really bad thinking this, but then I went into the comments and everyone else was also going, oh gosh, oh thank goodness, he's not a pedophile. He's just a cannibal. And I was like, how is that better? They're both terrible.
I mean,
But
with
it
the cannibalism, they don't have to suffer past the initial death. Anything bad you do to them after the whole killing them portion, they aren't there to experience it themselves. With the whole pedophile thing, you abuse them, you do horrible things to them, and then they have to live with it afterwards.
Right, the lasting consequences, I think, is really part of why it's so much worse in our society. But it's like, these are both terrible. So why is one of these, why is finding out that it's just killing and eating people so much more reassuring?
Well, there's also the matter of the fact that you can at least imagine that the person that he killed and eaten were bad individuals. We have, again, the whole Twilight thing of Edward, I must drink blood, but I will only drink the blood of bad people, rapists, murderers, thugs, all these individuals, so I'm justifying myself as being good. And so we can at least imagine a cannibal, doing that sort of thing, being modern day version of Hannibal Lecter. They only kill individuals who are rude, corrupt, and so therefore they're doing us a favor. So long as we ourselves are not complete jerks, we're perfectly fine. But pedophilia is one of those things where you're taking something innocent, you're corrupting it, and you're leaving a wake of destruction, and there's just no way if we can spin a good light upon that. And so that's, again, one of the darker side of things, That just how do we perceive it that makes something good or bad, light and dark.
Yeah. Whereas also you have to look at our culture. How many jokes are there about cannibals, and how many jokes are there about pedophiles? As far as I know, there are none that are publicly, said. But cannibals, you'll get jokes like 2 witches standing there together, and one says, the doctor says I can't have children, and says that's okay if people live with dietary restrictions before. So
No, I definitely heard a couple pedophilia jokes before, but that was when I was more younger, into which case the pedophile thing wasn't as serious as it is now, to where it was just like one of those things where just sort of, I don't know why. I heard a lot more jokes about pedophilia when I was a kid than I have now, so just one of those things.
Yeah. Well, I think I think that might have been
I
to
know, right?
educate the kids and keep them away from.
Be aware.
Be aware, that.
Don't talk to strangers.
Yeah, don't talk to strangers. Don't take candy from strangers. I drive a large white van with no windows. Okay, and I look like Santa. Yeah.
Okay, I have a slightly horrible joke. Remember, consent stops the rape every time.
Oh,
Yeah, horrible joke.
that is a bad joke.
That's
Moving on. So we've covered the Fae, who are the biggest, baddest. We've covered pedophilia. We've covered the cannibalism. We've covered sparkly vampires.
We've covered Batman.
We've covered Batman, the anti-hero, and everything. So, yes, it's there is a place of darkness in fantasy that is necessary to continue the story. How much of that is a reflection on us? I can't say. I'm not. I am not infallible, nor do I have the power to tell what is good or bad in that regard, and where the line is. I know where my own line is, and I'm keeping that to myself.
Read the next book to find out where to pump the brakes.
Exactly.
And I think one of the worst things is the fact that people they like to hide their darkness too, and they were not there are those, and I think it actually is sort of revealing. Actually, the more open we are to our own dark sides, that other people are like, oh yes, I say these crude and horrible things, I'm a horrible person, actually is a better indicator of them being a better person than those who say, I am good, I am righteous, because, if they view themselves as, if they surround themselves with good things and, present themselves as good and nothing but good, there has to be a reason for it. I mean, yes, there are probably those individuals who led this most incredibly non-hostile, polite, good kind of life. But there are also those who either use their goodness to justify the bad things that they do, because I am good, ergo, even if I do something that's bad for anyone else to do, it's fine for me to do it. Or it's because they're trying to hide or expunge some horrible thing they have previously done in the past, of which they could be ashamed of, or just, again, still trying to conceive. Overcompensate from.
Okay.
So, I would generally prefer to hang out with an individual who says, yes, I am a jerk, I do all these horrible things, because at least they're being honest about it, and you can draw the line up to where I can approve of crude jokes now and then. I can approve of I can go along with you having these thoughts of, how the world could be better, but it isn't, and what you would believe would be best be done to improve that. Because then I can choose whether or not to associate with you or not, based upon what you've told me, versus an individual who I know nothing about, and I just have to really, really hope that if I were to be walking down a dark alley with them, that I'm not going to end up in a worse situation than I was expecting.
How much can you believe their press agent?
Yes.
Sometimes we are our own worst press agent.
So the basic premise that I'm taking away from this, and to restate everything, is that there is darkness in us. And to be able to exercise the darkness in a safe, productive manner, to get catharsis and growth, we have to have evil and darkness in our fantasy. So that we're not out there carving up each other. So we're not out there bashing in children's heads. So we're not, pushing old ladies downstairs for their money. There has to be a darkness so the light can shine through.
Although if you also think about it, I mean, if books were written we all know children's book, being all light and free, making good friends and whatnot. And those stories are all very short. So it makes it in regards to our attention span as to how long we can go along with things being happy, with things being good, before we get bored with it. And in which case we need conflict for us to be entertained. So obviously not many of us can live the life of a Buddhist monk who can just meditate for hours.
No, we can't.
The fact that we need something bad to happen for us to get any sort of sense of excitement or some sort of thrill, at least some gossip, to go with our day so that way we're not bored and just crying our eyes out.
And I think it also comes down to a little bit of self-serving on our own part, because it basically comes down to the point of when you read a book, better them than me.
Like a horror movie.
Yes.
You're seeing the victim running on the screen. You're like, I'd never do that.
Yeah. It's like Eddie Murphy said. It's like, nice house, good neighborhood, good schools. This place is beautiful. I love it. Get out. Too bad we can't stay. So it's how it is. Y'all have any questions?
One, but do you think there ever could be like a story where they are the villain of their own story? Someone who doesn't see themselves as a hero, even in their own story.
Well, there are some
Have
out there.
you watched Despicable Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen Megamind? Have you seen that? It's
Dr. Horrible.
Dr. Horrible, prime
Yeah.
example. Yeah, they're there. They're there, but it's what they. It's a different take from the bad guy's point of view, but if you understand his reasoning behind it,
It all makes sense.
it makes sense.
And then can he really qualify as a bad guy then?
It's when you start agreeing with it.
Yeah.
That's where the darkness and fantasy lies and can lead you.
Yes. When you just follow orders.
Yeah. If you just follow orders, there you go, fascism.
Yeah.
If you just like if there was a state-run religion. Yeah.
Danger zone.
A lot of us have ended up like this right here. So,
So you actually bring up horror movies. Originally, when I was going into this panel, I wasn't quite sure exactly what we're going to be talking about, but I did pre-plan sort of like what are the 3 things that I feel is necessary for something to qualify as actual true horror and not just oh, it's scary. So if you don't mind me sharing those ideas.
go for it, please.
So the first one, it's the first one I was in trouble remembering. Well, one of them was realism. Another one was suspense. And really, what is it? Well, so the whole suspense thing, you can't just have the bad things, the scary things, the Freddy Krueger, the Jason, chasing after you, and just having to be like back to back to back to back, because it's that anticipation, that build-up that really gets your adrenaline and blood pumping and just waiting for the moment to happen. And if it doesn't, there's this huge sense of relief, and then it suddenly does, and you're just taken back. You need to have that suspense for there to be sort of roller coaster of emotion, for you to really appreciate it being horror. Another one that I can remember off the top of my head was, again, the realism. And by that I mean means the like. Oh, that was the third one. Cannot have a happy ending. But another one is realism. Like, how likely, if I were to be in that situation, to fall within the trap of the victims. I mean, with, again, the whole Freddy Krueger and not Freddy, but camper boy, Jason. Yes, Jason. The kids go into an abandoned park area where they have heard these stories of, axe-wielding maniacs being there, and they think it's just hogwash. So they go out there, they have parties, they're just being stupid, alcohol, sex, all the things that makes Jason upset. And then they get angry when those bad things that they were warned could happen actually does happen, and they just get very upset. But us watching it, we were like, oh, you know, we know better. Ergo, this wouldn't apply to me whatsoever. So this is just another fun thing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so when there's a horror movie to which case we ourselves wouldn't be able to recognize the danger, my favorite reference for this point would be The Grudge, the Japanese version of The Grudge. You know, all of us at one point or another are going to be looking at places to rent, places to go to, and they didn't even buy the house. They just walked in there, and they became the target of unrestrained evil and malice. And then the last thing is necessary is that it cannot have a happy ending. We cannot have our favorite character or the individuals recognized as the victims to walk away happy. They can come out of it alive, but they cannot be happy. Because then it gives sort of the whole self-gratification idea of, yes, they had these horrible experiences, but they overcame it. They appeased or they killed. They somehow managed to save the world of this evil.
But they're broken.
Even if they're broken, that can still be okay because, you know, then it isn't still happy. Mm-hmm. But when you come up from seeing this movie with this family of 4 people, you know, driving away happily laughing as, you know, the little vortex is destroying their house. But, you know, it sucks. We're laughing about it. You know, it's fine. It's good. It gives a sense of relief that, you know, even if I were to go through what they did, I at least now know how to counter it. Ergo, it's not true horror because you're not looking over your shoulder every 5 minutes due to the suspense buildup. Just seeing in your mind playing tricks upon you, actually you do see a long-haired lady in the corner of the shadows, or you're afraid to even look underneath your bed covers as you're lying there, just like, am I going to see the face staring back up at me? You need to have those 3 things for the true, proper horror, in my opinion.
And definitely I agree with the, it leaves you changed, because, prime example, Poltergeist, what did they do once they got the hell away from there? They got to the hotel. They rested. No, they put the TV outside. Then they rested.
TV. Door closes.
Yeah.
Yes. 4 minutes to your next panel, sir.
4 minutes
Downstairs.
to the next panel. So we've gone through the gauntlet of darkness, and thank you for all 6 of you who stayed.
Yay!
Yeah.
Just so you know, there's a special place in hell for each and every one of you.
We'll be glad to see you down there.
That's right.
As long as it's special, right?
That's right, it's
Absolutely.
special.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank my co-conspirator here.
Yes.
Heshe?
Heshe.
Heshe.
Yes.
Heshe.
And that's if you got anything to add.
Oh, well, yes.
Where can we find you guys online?
Oh,
That's a good. Let's
that
do
is a
some
good
product
question.
placement.
So,
I'm at SantaNoseTucson.com. That's it.
you can find me up on Facebook with the name Heshe Leontes, as well as you can look up Plague Doc Inc. as an incorporated, not actual ink. I also have business cards for anybody who would like one, as well as pamphlets of the opening scene for my book, in case if you'd like to see what it is I've written about and will be continuing to write about for the next few years, I hope. And I will be doing one more panel tomorrow for the binge or not to binge.
Alrighty. That's it, folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yay,
sir.
thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. And feel free to enjoy our other shows, such as D&D Journey of the 5th Edition and Scion Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion hero to Ragnarok story. Thank you for listening.